Welcome to Elevate English. Elevate your English. Elevate your life. If you found this video informative, please like, share, and subscribe to the Elevate English channel. Let's start our story. Love Through Letters. The Pen's Promise. In the bustling streets of London, amidst the hum of everyday life, there existed an old-fashioned bookshop tucked away in a quiet corner of a cobblestone street. The store was called The Written Word, and its owner, Alice Harper, was a woman of simple pleasures, a lover of books, poetry, and the power of words. She spent most of her days behind the counter, sifting through old manuscripts and letters, each telling a story of a different time, a different love. Alice had always been enchanted by the idea of love letters, those beautiful written expressions of emotion, so deeply personal and raw. To her, the power of a letter was immeasurable, something lasting, something that could capture a feeling in a way that words spoken aloud never could. One rainy afternoon, while sorting through a collection of old books and forgotten letters left behind by the previous owner, Alice came across a peculiar, leather-bound journal. The pages were yellowed with age, and the cover was embossed with intricate designs. The journal seemed out of place in the dusty collection, its delicate condition at odds with the worn surroundings. Curious, Alice opened the journal. The first page was adorned with a date, July 7, 1942, and a name at the top, Eleanor Mayfield. The words on the page were written in elegant script. My dearest Edward, the moment I write these words, I am consumed by the warmth of your memory. Each day we are apart feels like an eternity, and yet, each letter we exchange is a reminder of the love we share. I long for the day when I can hold you in my arms again, but until that moment, this pen will be my closest connection to you. Alice couldn't put the journal down. She turned the pages, each one revealing more letters from Eleanor to a man named Edward, written over several years. It was clear that the two had been separated by circumstance, war, distance, perhaps time itself, but their love for each other was unwavering, preserved in the pages of their correspondence. Alice could feel the depth of their connection with every word, every promise, every declaration of devotion. One particular letter stood out to Alice. My dearest Edward, there is no distance in the world that can separate two souls bound by love. Even if the miles between us grow, know that in every letter I write, in every thought I have, I am with you. I promise you this, I will wait for you, for as long as it takes, because I know that our love will never fade. Yours forever, Eleanor. Alice was captivated. The raw emotion in Eleanor's words stirred something deep within her, a longing for a love that felt timeless, unconditional, and enduring. But what intrigued her even more was the absence of Edward's side of the story. There were no replies, no letters from him to Eleanor. Was he still alive? Had he received her letters? The mystery lingered, and Alice felt compelled to uncover the truth behind the journal. Days turned into weeks as Alice spent her spare time researching the names in the journal. She discovered that Eleanor Mayfield had been a poet, a woman known for her heartfelt words and love for nature. But there was no record of an Edward who had been associated with her in any public way. Determined to learn more, Alice took the journal to the local historical society, where an elderly librarian named Mr. Whittaker recognized the name Eleanor Mayfield immediate. "Ah, Miss Mayfield," Mr. Whittaker said, his eyes glinting with recognition. "She was quite the poet, but her story is a tragic one. She fell in love with a soldier, a young man named Edward, during the Second World War. But Edward, he never returned home. They say he went missing in action, and despite her letters, she never heard from him again." Alice's heart sank. She couldn't imagine the pain Eleanor must have felt, writing those letters, holding on to their hope that the love they shared would bring him back. Yet, even in the absence of his replies, Eleanor's devotion never wavered. Mr. Whittaker continued, Eleanor never married. She lived the rest of her life in that little cottage by the sea, writing poetry and sending letters to Edward, though no one ever knew if they reached him. But there was one final letter she wrote, just before her passing. To their. Where is it? She asked eagerly. Mr. Whittaker hesitated for a moment before pulling out a faded envelope from a drawer. It was yellowed with age, and the ink was barely legible. He handed it to Alice with a solemn look on his face. You may have the answers you seek here, Miss Harper. Alice carefully opened the envelope. The letter inside was dated August 12, 1955. Edward. It has been years now, and my heart is weary from waiting. I still hold on to the memories we created together, and I carry them with me in my every breath. But I have come to realize that love, no matter how pure, cannot withstand the passage of time without return. I release you now, my dear Edward. I release you from the burden of my waiting, from the promise I made to you. You have been a part of me, and you always will be, but it is time for me to let go. Underscore your law. Eleanor. The words echoed in Alice's heart. She couldn't help but feel a sense of loss, not just for Eleanor, but for the kind of love that, despite its devotion, could never come to fruition. And yet, there was something beautiful in that release, a quiet acceptance of the passage of time, of the inevitability of change. As Alice walked back to the bookshop, the journal in her hands, she thought about her own life. She'd never written love letters, never held onto words like Eleanor had. She'd been so focused on the fleeting moments of life, the busyness of the world around her, that she'd never given herself the space to truly reflect on what mattered most. The letters had shown her a kind of love that wasn't bound by time, a love that was eternal in its own way. Back at the written word, Alice placed the journal on the counter and looked out the window at the falling rain. For the first time in a long while, she felt a quiet peace settle over her, a reminder that, sometimes, love doesn't have to be spoken aloud. Sometimes, it's simply enough to write it down, to promise it with your pen, and let time take care of the rest. And as the rain pattered softly against the windows, Alice picked up her own pen and began to write, this time, for herself. The end.